I like to paint a sense of place and not a real place. So my paintings of Yorkshire are a sense of the Yorkshire Dales. The initial impetus is from a specific view, but then the painting develops and has its own life, and the initial image goes to some extent, and you rely on what the painting must do. And it is, after all, the painting which is the most important. And also, if people get some sense of something from it without me actually having spelt it out, then I think that's absolutely fantastic. Well, first of all, I made a complete bog up of the drawing, but it doesn't matter. That's the great joy of this type of painting, because you can wash it out very easily. You are continually remaking and redrawing. It's a continuous process, so no matter how much rubbish, if you like, you put into the painting, underneath it has to be good drawing, and I will continually redraw and redraw and redraw. So what I'm going to do in a second is some fairly wild stuff. I like to have in a painting drama. Very important to have drama. And the painting has at the end of it to sing. And I've been asked numerous times, how do I know when to stop a painting or when is a painting finished? It's a very solitary process, because there's only you trying to think it out, and the joy, to me, the absolute joy of painting is not a painting which comes off very easily. The joy of painting is a painting that isn't working. A landscape painting will sing because of contrast, trying to make a painting exciting. Now I'm going to do something quite exciting now, and that's to actually paint black ink into it, for no reason other than to see what happens. If you squint at anything you look at in the landscape, you will always see black. Yeah, I've always drawn not very seriously, and then I used to go out with a close friend, Dr. John Penfold. We used to collect 19th century sketches and bits of the 19th century watercolourists, and we used to collect and talk about them as one might over a decent bottle of wine, and then decided I would start watercolouring. I would work through the day, and then came after supper in the evening. I would go under the stairs where I had a sort of makeshift studio, and I would paint there. And so when I was working, I actually painted probably more than I do now, because I didn't feel guilty. I felt if I'd done a decent day's work in surgery, etc., then I was free to be able to paint. And I think in terms of thirds all the time. So if you have that sky, this is land, sky, and again, thinking in terms of third, if I've got something of interest, I might as well stick it somewhere over here. It might be a tree, or it doesn't really matter. There's something immensely satisfying. If you can't think what to paint, is to tear up bits of paper. It is so satisfying. And I kid you not, actually, there is something therapeutic about sticking bits of paper down and then painting on top of them. I think it's quite nice to have paper which doesn't necessarily adhere all round. So it creates little shadows. The route into the painting is still there, and if you're drawing in the foreground you have sharp angles, but as you're going further into the painting they become more horizontal. So that's still obeying a sort of construction. I started painting in a variety of ways, but if the picture of the farmhouse, which I've forgotten about, has only just appeared when someone sent me an email with this photograph asking was it my painting. My origins were, if you like, more descriptive. This was an example of a phase I went through, which was a dark period in painting, but certainly not a dark phase in my own life. Eventually I came across the paintings of David Tress, and they revolutionized my own thinking. Over the years I went to his courses, and so I'm afraid that there is a kinship, if you like, in the style. However, having said that, David Tress will always be ahead of me, and when you compare a painting of David Tress, which I've just bought, there is absolutely no comparison in the surface texture, and I just love his work. Drawing is absolutely paramount in any form of painting, because unless the painting is underpinned by a strong, accurate drawing, you can never, in my opinion, that is, really paint abstractedly over it. I got to know about David Bomberg some long time ago now, but have gradually grown to really appreciate what he's been trying to do, and having read a lot about the spirit in the Mass and the painting from within, it's trying to paint from within to attain something in front of you which could be appreciated by other people. Now this is the exciting bit. I have to get rid of the water. And I'm using, I don't know what I'm using. I'm using burnt sienna. Colour is not haphazard. Colour is important because you need hot colours at the front and cool colours in the back. I'm going to put some fairly hot burnt sienna into this and the first part of the painting, and then I'm going to probably put some, I don't know, some raw sienna, which is a nice gentle yellow really, as it goes into the distance. When the initial drawing was a relatively dark mass here, and the foreground was almost luminous, long grasses. Here on this side was a farm road, and here was a for sale notice, which I haven't put in. So you've still got to use a certain amount of license, and at some point I could put in a notice. With this, if you like, type of painting, chipping and taking away and adding and layering, and it's immensely freeing. My pleasure is to paint this way, and I love it, absolutely love it. And the other thing too is if a painting isn't working, then you've got nothing to lose by ragging it. Collage is not new. Lots of artists over the years have collaged and scraped and scratched out and ripped. Turner did. This painting was roughly Ingleborough. I was wandering around on my own. I think it has captured it, but the changing light in the Yorkshire Dales, the big shadows and the heavy sky contrasting with a lighter sky, and movement, and that's what this painting is supposed to represent. I hope it will develop. I hope there will be less David Tress. I think the present group that I've painted in France, I think there are similarities, of course there are, but I think I have grown away a bit. So if one can sell one or two, and it's wonderful to sell one or two, not, yes, for the money, but primarily that someone wants to have one of my paintings on their wall. And that's the greatest bit.